You reach into your pocket. You don't even think about it. It's muscle memory. Your phone wakes up. You swipe. A 15-second video plays someone dancing. You swipe again. A quick cooking tutorial. Swipe. A news clip. Swipe. A meme. Before you know it, 45 minutes have vanished into thin air. You look up. Your eyes feel dry. Your room is dark, and a strange, subtle fog sits heavy in your mind. You tell yourself you were just relaxing, but deep inside your skull, a complex neurochemical reaction just occurred. We often talk about social media like it's just entertainment. We call it wasting time. We call it brain rot. But modern neuroscience is revealing a far darker, far more physical reality. Short-form video apps, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, are not just apps. They are precision-engineered neurostimulants. They operate on the exact same neurological pathways as slot machines, gambling, and chemical narcotics. And the most terrifying part, they are physically altering the hardware of your brain, not metaphorically, physically. Over the next 20 minutes, we are going to dive deep into the human brain to discover what happens when you spend hours scrolling. We'll look at the exact neural circuitry of digital addiction, the frightening structural changes occurring in young brains, and the multi-billion-dollar algorithms designed to hijack human psychology. Most importantly, we'll answer the question everyone is afraid to ask. Is the damage permanent? Welcome to the truth about the digital drug. To understand why a 15-second video holds such massive power over human behavior, we have to talk about dopamine. There is a common misconception that dopamine is the molecule of pleasure. People think, I watch a funny video, I get dopamine, I feel happy. But that's actually incorrect. Dopamine is not the neurochemical of satisfaction. It is the neurochemical of anticipation. Dopamine is the brain's survival engine. Millions of years ago, if our ancestors smelled berries behind a bush, dopamine spiked to give them the drive and focus to push through the brush and forage. Dopamine is the itch that demands to be scratched. It drives the search, not the reward itself. Now enter the algorithm. When you open TikTok or Instagram Reels, your brain enters what behavioral psychologists call a variable reward schedule. Think of it like this. If every single video you swipe to was hilarious, your brain would quickly adapt. The dopamine response would flatten out. But every video isn't hilarious. Video number 1 is boring. Swipe. Video number 2 is average. Swipe. Video number 3 is a massive hit, an intense burst of humor, shock, or high emotion. That unpredictability is the trap. Your brain cannot predict when the next high will arrive. So, with every swipe, dopamine surges. Not because the content is good, but because your brain is asking, will the next one be the payload? This is the exact same mechanism used by casino slot machines. You pull the lever, push the button, swipe the screen. When you scroll through short-form video, you aren't consuming content. You are playing a high-speed slot machine where every pull takes less than a second. And here's where the physical rewiring begins. When you flood the brain's reward center with hyper-frequent, unpredictable dopamine spikes, the brain does something drastic to defend itself. It down-regulates. It reduces the number of active dopamine receptors in your brain. Think of it like standing next to a loudspeaker. To protect your ears, you put on earplugs. That is what your brain does. It dulls its sensitivity. The result? Everyday life. Reading a book, sitting in a meeting, holding a conversation, walking in the park, suddenly feels painfully, intolerably boring. Normal life doesn't deliver high-frequency dopamine spikes. You haven't just lost your attention span, you have altered your brain's baseline tolerance for reality. For decades, scientists believed the adult human brain was static, fixed in stone once we reached our mid-20s. We now know this is false. The brain operates under the law of neuroplasticity. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Your brain constantly reshapes its physical structure based on how you use it. If you spend months learning the piano, the motor cortex regions controlling your fingers grow thicker and build denser neural connections. So, what happens when you train your brain to process 100 distinct pieces of media every 20 minutes for hours a day? Recent neuroimaging studies using functional MRIs to track brain activity in real time have started delivering disturbing answers. First, let's talk about the prefrontal cortex. This is the area of the brain located directly behind your forehead. It is responsible for what neuroscientists call executive function. That means impulse control, long-term planning, emotional regulation, and deep focus. It is the part of the brain that makes us human. Studies examining heavy consumers of short-form video show measurable decreases in gray matter volume in the prefrontal cortex. Let that sink in for a moment. The physical volume of the brain region responsible for self-control is showing signs of atrophy in heavy users. When you constantly overload the brain with hyper-stimulating content and instant gratification, the prefrontal cortex goes offline. It doesn't need to work. Instead, control is handed over to the amygdala and the ventral striatum, the primitive, emotional, instinctual parts of the brain. Second, let's look at the default mode network, or the DMN. The DMN is active when you are not focused on the outside world. It's what turns on when you daydream, reflect on your life, think about the future, or process memories. It is the engine of human creativity and self-identity. Short-form videos completely shatter the default mode network. Because content is delivered in continuous, hyper-intense 15-second fragments, your brain is never given a micropause to process what it just saw. You move from a shocking news story to a comedy sketch, to a tragic event, to a product advertisement, all in under 2 minutes. Your brain's processing systems are completely overwhelmed. The information cannot move from short-term working memory into long-term memory. It creates a state of chronic cognitive fragmentation. You aren't just forgetting what you watched 10 minutes ago. You are losing the capacity for deep, sustained contemplation. None of this happened by accident. To understand the digital drug, you have to realize that you are locked in an asymmetrical war. On one side is your evolutionary brain, built to hunt, gather, and live in small social groups. On the other side are the most powerful supercomputers on Earth, monitored by teams of behavioral psychologists, data engineers, and neuroscientists. Their objective? Maximizing watch time. Why short-form video? Why did the entire tech industry shift from text to images to long videos and finally to short-form loops? Because short-form video solves a fundamental problem tech companies faced, the friction of decision-making. In the early days of YouTube or Netflix, you had to choose what to watch. You read a title, looked at a thumbnail, clicked play, and watched a 10-minute video. If you didn't like it, you had to exit and make another active choice. That required conscious thought. Short-form algorithms remove the friction entirely. You don't select a video. The algorithm selects it for you. You don't hit play. It plays instantly. You don't hit stop. It loops endlessly. The algorithm tracks hundreds of subtle signals every second. Did you pause for a microsecond on a specific video? Did you watch a clip twice? Did your scrolling speed accelerate or slow down? Did you read the comments? It constructs a real-time neurological map of your subconscious vulnerabilities. It feeds you content that triggers your specific anxieties, desires, biases, and cravings. It is hyper-personalized, algorithmic behavior modification. And the ultimate goal is to put your brain into a state known as the flow state of passive consumption. This is the trance-like state where the analytical part of your brain shuts down entirely. You aren't consciously choosing to watch. You are simply observing the screen as a passive recipient. You have been turned into a spectator of your own attention. While these neurological changes are troubling for adults, the stakes are exponentially higher for children and teenagers. Human brains do not fully develop until around age 25. The last region to fully connect and wire up? The prefrontal cortex, the exact region that manages impulse control and long-term consequences. During adolescence, the brain undergoes a massive structural renovation called synaptic pruning. The brain looks at the neural pathways that are being used and strengthens them. The pathways that aren't being used are pruned away and discarded. If a teenager spends 4, 5, or 6 hours a day scrolling through short-form video, their brain is actively building neural pathways designed for hyperdistraction, instant reward, and superficial engagement. At the same time, the brain is pruning away the connections required for deep reading, sustained problem-solving, emotional resilience, and face-to-face social interaction. We are seeing the real-world consequences unfold in real time. record levels of anxiety and depression among youth, a catastrophic decline in reading comprehension and focus in schools worldwide, an inability to tolerate silence, boredom, or solitude. Boredom used to be the cradle of human creativity. When you are bored, your brain looks inward. You invent, you reflect, you solve problems, you dream. Now, boredom has been declared an emergency. The moment a second of quiet appears, waiting in line at the grocery store, sitting at a red light, walking to the bathroom, the phone comes out. We have traded our internal lives for a stream of digital noise. Now, we come back to the crucial question. Is the damage permanent? The short answer is no. Remember the fundamental law of the human brain. Neuroplasticity works both ways. Just as your brain adapted to hyperstimulation, it can adapt back to calm, focused depth. But it does not happen by accident. You cannot beat a multi-billion-dollar algorithm with mere willpower. You need a strategy. Here is how you reclaim your neurochemistry. First, reintroduce friction. Delete short-form video apps from your primary device. Force yourself to access media through a desktop browser where scrolling is awkward and intentional. Second, embrace the detox window. It takes roughly 7 to 14 days of reduced digital stimulation for dopamine receptors to begin resetting. During this window, you will feel restless. You will feel bored. Recognize that restlessness as the physical healing of your reward system. Third, protect your transitions. Never check your phone during the first 30 minutes after waking up or the last 30 minutes before sleep. These are the windows where your brain is most plastic and vulnerable to stress conditioning. And finally, reclaim solitude. Practice being bored again. Let your mind wander without a digital pacifier in your hand. Your attention is not just a resource for tech companies to harvest. Your attention is your life. What you pay attention to shapes your thoughts, your emotions, your brain structure, and ultimately, your legacy. Put down the phone. Look up. Reclaim your brain.